2022 meeting of the Radnor Zoning Hearing Board. If you're here to join us, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have three matters on the agenda tonight. The last item I'm actually going to address first because we have a request for a continuance. This is appeal number 3122 for the property at 1106 County Line Road. Received a letter from the applicant's counsel, Christopher Hinderlitter, who mentioned that he had a conflict tonight and could not make the hearing. Is anyone here for the applicant? William Herron, going once, going twice. That's a little disappointing, to tell you the truth, but I'm going to grant a continuance. They have agreed to waive any kind of deadline for our written decision, and I guess we should notify them in some fashion.
Correct. They did waive all deadline requirements. The attorney for the applicant did note in the request that he had a scheduling conflict, so
Right.
he couldn't be here tonight. And the township late today did consent to the request for continuance.
Got it. Okay. All right. Well, then that matter is moved to our March 17th meeting. Back to the schedule. The first appeal is appeal number 3119. The applicant, Sign Studios, property located at 209 West Lancaster Avenue in Zone Wayne Business Overlay District. Applicant seeks relief from Section 280-122.C2 to install a wall sign that will be 18 feet above existing grade. Is anyone here for the applicant? Good evening. Good evening. Sure.
Brian Unoviak, I'm with Sign Studios. I'm representing Ironwood Properties. In your packet, you have a letter from Eric Knopping, who asked me to represent his property on behalf of him and also his main tenant, which is Nest Retail Store.
Okay. I presume you're with the company that's manufacturing these signs or placing them?
Yes, sir. Correct.
Okay.
So we went through the DRB twice. The second time, they just wanted to have more specifics of everything, so we did provide them to them, and they liked our design, they liked the placement. However, it was higher. It was higher than what was allowed. So we're applying for Section 281C-2 code variance for sign height and sign area. The linear frontage of the building total was 37 linear feet. It's actually a little more than that, but we agreed on 37. By the zoning regulations, wall signs are allowed 2 square feet per 1 linear foot for the first 15 linear feet, followed by 1 square foot for each consecutive linear foot, maximum of 50 square feet, and they do qualify for that. I put together a packet for you. I know this isn't on. I'm used to DRB, so bear with me. For the front of the building, there's not really any place where they could put their logo.
Excuse me. Let's talk about the application.
Sure.
We did get an application with a number of different pictures. The application itself with the exhibits. Looks like there's some agreement of lease and a deed and so forth. We should designate the entire application package as A1.
I didn't hear you.
Okay, and we just want to designate the exhibits that you have.
Sure.
For purposes of the
Sure.
record. Yeah. And you know, as you go through, I'd like you to go through the pictures and explain what you're doing.
Sure.
We can refer to these.
Okay, great, thank you. If you look at the picture of the front of the building, the one that is between the two trees.
All right, let's give everybody a second to grab that.
Right, the one on the left.
The one on the left. Okay.
You'll see that there's not really any place, it's all window glass. There's also a apparatus to the very, very left for fire sprinkler equipment. And you'll see where we measured that at 37 linear feet. It's actually a little more if you actually go inside of the building, and you'll see that they actually occupy all the way to the very end of that fire equipment. But anyway, it doesn't matter. It's a moot point. It's still, 50 square feet. They felt that they wanted to brand the building. The property owner, along with the tenant, wanted to brand the building. He put a lot of money into the building, could not get a tenant for that building. He had, I believe, 3 other tenants and they all went south during COVID and found a tenant that wanted to occupy the entire building, and was very happy that he did. They made the building look absolutely beautiful. It had a lot of flaws when we were going through DRB, and we proposed the original pictures of the building. And if you look at what it looks like now, a lot of improvements both on the exterior and the interior of the building.
Is this a representative drawing, or is this an actual?
This is the actual photograph.
So that
of
sign
the
is already
building.
up there?
No, the sign is, everything is real, everything's actual with the exception of the signage.
Okay.
However, if you look at the one on the right-hand side, top, the entrance to Nest is that door, right where the sign is. And that sign is there currently. And that's the entrance. So they don't
Which
have a
picture
front
is that?
entrance to the building, so they wanted to brand the building so that people, knew that they were in that the entire building. There is a portion of the building that there's a cleaner that has, I was told, that has just a few more years for the lease, but Nest has majority of that entire building. And so with what we're looking at doing, what we're asking you is for, the sign as it's depicted on that picture, the bottom of Nest is 14 feet. And it's a 5-foot diameter sign. So obviously, we're only allowed to go 15 feet. So we're asking to go 7 foot higher than what is allowed.
Yes. Yes.
Sure.
Could I have a preliminary question? You are Brian Yanovic?
Yes, I am.
You're not an attorney?
No, I'm not an attorney.
And the applicant is Nest?
The applicant is Ironwood Properties.
Is that the landlord?
That's the owner of the building.
Okay. And do you have anything in writing?
Yes, I do. I
Excuse me, let me
supplied
just-
that in your
let me-
packet.
There's a court reporter taking down what we're saying. So
Yeah.
let me ask my question completely.
Sure.
All right? You have some authorization from the owner?
Yes, I do.
Is it part of the packet?
Yes, it is.
And what is it? Where is it?
You'll see at the very, very top of, there's a letter that says 209 Wayne IPG Associates LLC. It's a landlord letter of consent.
Okay. And who is PD Home Garden LLC? I'm looking at the lease. It says it's between 209 Wayne IPG Associates LLC.
Yeah,
and PD Home
IPG
and
is
Garden
Ironwood
LLC.
Property Group.
Pardon me?
Ironwood Property Group. That's what the IPG stands for.
That's the landlord, okay.
That's the landlord, correct.
Is there any restrictions on a company not being, I know with corporations have to be represented by an attorney. I mean, this is a question for our solicitor. Is there any issues with having a person who is not an attorney, who's not a principal of the applicant here making this presentation?
No, it's nothing in our rules that prohibit it, and nor in the MPC.
Okay.
Yeah, this isn't, we're quasi judicial, but we're not a court of law.
Got it, thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Is there any other questions? Could I proceed?
And maybe you'll answer this question, but.
Sure.
I see 1, 2, 3, 4 signs. You're looking for 4 signs? One in the front, one on the east side, and it looks like 2 on the Wawa side.
No, it's actually, yeah, there's only one on the Wawa side.
Yeah, because there's a picture with like one towards the rear and then one towards the front.
Yes, and the reason why
Two
we
different
did that is
pictures.
when, and I apologize, that should have been pulled out, but when we initially put the packet together, I noticed that the sign placement was incorrect from what we showed the DRB. And
Okay, so where it says
and I-
Nest Wawa side 36-inch cabinet, that's not applicable.
It's not, it's 9 square feet. It's, the one that says 36 inches, which is 9 square feet, is the correct one. And that's the one to the right of the little tiny window.
I'm sorry.
Actually, you know what, I can,
The one that says Nest, maybe we should number all these pictures. Nest
I'm gonna-
Wawa side 36-inch cabinet. There's a picture towards the rear of the building of a sign. That's the correct. That is the correct one. So this one is incorrect. That is correct. Okay. Here's what. This is what I'm talking about.
yeah, that's incorrect.
Which is the incorrect one?
I'm going to give you out the correct one. Mark this A2. The whole package is A1.
Okay.
What are we marking this one that just handed to us?
A2.
Which is A1?
A1's the entire package. We haven't separately numbered, although I'm on the verge of doing that. But let's see where we go.
Yeah, I supplied that correction like immediately once I noticed that. And that was a while ago.
Okay. So 3 signs, right?
Yes, front sign, they already have the door sign where the entrance of the building is, and then the Wawa sign. They just figured, you know, hey, that would be really great for us to be able to brand the building and for people to see, you know, that they're there. It is a pretty substantial footprint.
Mr. Chairman, might I ask a question? Mr. Chairman,
Yes, I'm sorry, go ahead.
may I ask a question?
Yes.
Why doesn't a compliant sign work?
For a couple reasons. It's all window glass in the front of the building, and there's just no, the oval would be, or the circle logo would be so small that it just wouldn't be visible. But the DRB liked the fact that it's branding the front of that building in that peak area. I mean, it just looks, from an architectural point of view, it just looks so much nicer to have it there, and it's visible. Their logo's black with white lettering, and it would make their logo really tiny.
So
Well, the
No,
standards
no,
of the
no,
design.
well,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, my question is, why don't you just move the similarly sized sign down so it complies?
Because it won't, because if you look at the facade, there's a vertical facade and there's a horizontal facade, and visually, it just would look strange, because the logo would have to sit on two different textures.
Design review covers the aesthetics of the thing.
Right, correct.
We handle whether our code allows you to do this.
Right,
So aesthetic considerations are not always relevant to us, I'm just suggesting. And
Right.
I wouldn't know something that looks good
Right.
from anything.
right,
So,
right. It's just, it actually recesses in. If you look at the picture on the left,
so the board and batten portion of the facade is set back slightly from the horizontal portion of the facade.
exactly,
Is that what you're saying?
correct, yes.
Okay. And what's the distance between the bottom of the sign that is currently on the board and batten portion of the facade and the top of the horizontal portion of the facade? What's that distance?
I had that dimension with the DRB, so it's a good question. I don't know if I have that. I think it's 2 feet or 18 inches. It should. Let me see if I.
And the reason I ask is sometimes when we consider relief from what is in the code,
Yes.
we look to grant the minimum relief that is necessary.
Right.
So if perhaps this was lowered, perhaps the board, to the extent the board considered it relevant, would think differently perhaps
Sure.
of the request. That's all I'm saying.
Well, right now, it's 2 feet, the bottom of the sign is 2 feet higher than what, 15 feet is, what's allowed. But right now, it's beginning at 14 feet. So we could lower it. I mean, it's possible. I mean, if we did lower it, I would ask that we lower it to still be above that horizontal batten area. Would probably lower it a foot from where it's
The
at.
purpose of this sign is to give who indication that it's there?
Nest.
No.
But the way that
A
we.
driver on a street, someone is walking, like, the purpose of this sign.
I
Is
see
it
your
direction, is you trying to give someone where it's located?
Yes,
Okay.
correct.
So you are permitted by code to have a freestanding sign that would also be right next to the roadway to say, here's Nest.
Right.
Did you consider doing that?
We did, but again, I'm working under the parameters of what I've been asked. They wanted the building branded. Both the landlord and the tenant wanted it branded. Matter of
get that.
fact, the way we built the sign was with a face that could be changed.
We
rather
understand
easily,
that,
'cause
but
it has a-
understand that, when you're asking for a variance, you have to have a hardship.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so hardship is, well, it looks better. Doesn't really work for us, especially when there is an alternative. Like, if you're trying to give, people that are driving on the roadway a sign that says, by the way, Nest is here, and you have a way to do it within the code, which you clearly just said you could, that obviously doesn't work for you. Because when you could do something that's under the code and permissible, but you'd rather do something that is not permissible just because it looks better, it's tough for us to give relief when that's the rationale, just so you know.
Right.
So that's why he's also saying, can it be lower? Because he said, we have to give the minimum relief necessary
Right.
to relieve the hardship. Now, we've got to figure out if there's a hardship here first.
Yeah.
And then we can say,
Well,
okay,
they
what
have
can
a
you do?
side entrance.
What's that?
They have a side entrance to the building.
Right, yes, correct.
And that is problematic to Nest and also the landlord.
And again, a freestanding sign could take care of that for you too, because that is physically located in the front of the building. It just happens to be detached.
Right.
Isn't there a freestanding sign
There's a
On Lancaster Avenue?
freestanding sign, yes, there's a freestanding sign
With
where
nest
the,
on it,
where
correct?
the original freestanding sign was.
Yeah,
Correct.
but you could locate,
there was a-
you could put the Nest brand on that sign, correct? Or is it already on there?
It's already there.
That's what I thought, okay.
So you need two signs. In the front, he's asking for two signs. So you need two signs to do the same exact thing, which is tell, okay. All right. Is that sign on any of these pictures, the freestanding sign?
Well, we haven't been asked for any relief for a freestanding sign, so I don't think we need to address it.
Yeah,
That's
I think-
permissible under the code. I'd like to know if it's there already.
And if there's a violation, I'm sure they'll hear about it.
No,
No,
that's
I
been
think
already
it goes to the
approved.
assessment of the hardship.
No, I'm asking if there's, because the hardship is, I need a sign to tell motorists where to go. I'm fine with that, but if they already have a sign that tells motorists where to go, then I'm kind of going, then you want two signs that do the same exact thing.
But we've just heard testimony that the purpose of the sign is to identify the building.
Yes, correct.
Is there a freestanding sign that already tells you the building?
It's not anywhere near
It would be
the
a
buil-
sign into a parking lot or a driveway or street, and maybe that's another
It's
question.
to the right of their parking
And there's a lot
lot.
of businesses there.
There's a lot because there's Blue Moon. There's a ton of businesses to the right. Yes.
So on the question of lowering the sign.
Yes.
You know, we tend to be more apt to approve an application if it's the lowest possible relief, the smallest possible relief.
Right.
You're under no obligation to agree to decreasing the sign, but it may have an effect on how members of the board vote.
Right. Right.
So, you know, if you took it down 1 foot, you know, if that's a possibility, that might be helpful.
Okay.
But I'm not making your decisions for you.
Sure. I mean, if that would help with the approval, I would definitely do that. Again, I was asked to
Yeah.
brand the building
Yeah.
so that they have some visibility because it's really hard to see. And they're, you know, when you're driving down Route 30, it's, you know, it's hard to see. That's why we wanted to,
And
you know,
and
put
Brian,
something on the
I
Wawa
take it
side
that the other two signs
as well.
are within the 15 feet, so we're only talking about the front sign?
we're talking about the front sign, and we're talking about the front sign, and we're talking about the Wawa side.
The Wawa sign's over 15 feet?
No, the Wawa sign is only 9 square feet. It's 3 by 3.
But the height,
Oh, the height, yeah, the height's, it's you know, maybe 9 feet high tops.
yeah, that's what it appears to be. So, just to be clear, on the height variance,
Yes.
you're only asking that for the front sign?
Yes, yes,
You
sir.
don't need it for the other two signs?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
All we're asking is for the front sign.
Okay.
Correct. Yes.
All right, thank you. And then, I guess the next question is, you know, how you came up with 50 square feet. It kind of looks like you're under 50 square feet, but I was a little confused about the math work that was included. I looked up my junior high math book to see how you get the square footage for a circle.
Right.
And I ain't come up with the same numbers.
Okay.
But I still think you're under the 50, but do you have anything to add to that?
No. I don't think I mean, we're under the requirement, so I feel pretty comfortable with what we proposed.
Mr. Chairman, I can probably add to that to alleviate some concern or confusion. You draw a rectangle around your sign for a non-rectangular sign, and that's how you come up with the square footage. So a 36-inch diameter sign would be 3 by 3 at 9 square foot. So we went through the calculations. It maxes out at the 50 square feet for wall signage per the district regulations for all 3 wall signs that they have proposed.
Okay, thank you, that's helpful.
And Kevin, is the cleaners the cleaner's sign considered at all for purposes of that calculation?
Not for this calculation. We took, we look at the frontage when you have a multi-tenant building, and the frontage of the dry cleaners, it was excluded from the frontage of the Nest retail for that portion of the building that faces Lancaster Avenue. So when that sign just came through for the design review board, that had a separate calculation for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If I could ask another question.
Sure.
And don't take this question the wrong way, but to the extent the board would consider granting some relief to the extent that the sign is lowered on that facade along Lancaster Avenue, are you authorized by the tenant to agree to that change? Or do you have to go back to the client and talk it over and then come back here?
No, I'm authorized to get a final resolution.
Okay, there was some mention of another issue from the
And they,
design.
could I just mention one more thing in regard? They have a 10-year lease, Nest. They worked a 10-year lease with the owner of the building because of he was trying to have that occupied, and they wanted to secure a tenant for that. I mean, it's been tough. If you go through Wayne, there's 34 vacant businesses within a 3-block area of my store. 34.
That's certainly a consideration. Thank you.
Yes.
Brian, I just want to ask what you know or could tell us about the pending resolution of the street frontage issue. Do you know what that is?
I'm not sure if I'm not sure if I understand your
This
question.
is in the application. It said that the Design Review Board unanimously approved a design, fabrication, and placement of the wall signage pending 18-foot height zoning variance and the Wawa sidewall signage. I'm not sure what that means. Pending resolution of street frontage issue.
Right. It was, again, the height, they had approved me, they had approved for the signage to go on the front, but at the sidewalk level. But there's no real place to put
Mr.
the
Chairman,
logo.
I can probably clarify that as well. When they first came in, as we discussed earlier, they had the larger sign on the Wawa side.
Yeah.
They were including that as part of the frontage. So during the DRB meeting, I had chimed in and said that is not considered street frontage. So in order to move them through the design review board process, they approved it conditionally upon resolution of the street frontage calculation, at which point we resolved it, as I mentioned a little bit ago, about the frontage of Nest versus the frontage of the cleaners. And that's why that larger sign on the Wawa side got reduced, so it complies with the 50 square feet total requirement.
So you don't count the side alleyway as street frontage?
No, it's only
No,
the street
not at
frontage
all.
along a public road.
Okay. I looked up the definition of street, and it includes alleyways and private roads.
That's really a drive aisle, it's not an alleyway, and if that literal interpretation, then every corner of a building, every side of a building that had a parking lot on it would be considered frontage, so.
Yeah.
We've historically only allowed that along a public street.
All right, we should clarify that code section, make a note.
I initially thought that as well and
Yeah.
was corrected.
Any questions from the board? Okay, seeing none, any public comment? I'm sorry, are you finished with your testimony?
I am, yes, unless you have any other questions.
Thank you.
Okay.
Just say,
I'm moving my exhibits into evidence.
thank you.
Great.
That's good.
You're going to appreciate Law and Order so much more the next time you watch it.
Thank you. This is new to me, so
Yeah.
forgive me.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Any
I did
public-
have also a construction detail for you as well in your packet.
That's in the packet already?
Yes.
Okay. Any public comment? Seeing none, do I have a motion?
I would move that the application be denied. I just don't see a hardship at all. They have a sign, it's on the road. There's two pictures of it in the packet. One is labeled Nest Wawa Side 48-inch cabinet, and the other one is the exact same photograph. It's got a slightly different caption. So they have a sign along the road, so somebody driving down Lancaster Avenue is going to see it. I don't see a reason to grant, I mean, they can come back with an application where they have a more minimal variance perhaps, but this is not very minimal. I just don't think there's a hardship. There's nothing associated really with the land or the use of the building or anything like that. They can lower it. They can make the sign a little smaller. They can bring it down. They don't have to encroach upon the top of the building in the front where you got a slightly different finish.
Well, you motion to deny.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Is there a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Okay. I'm going to make an alternative motion, and we can discuss both motions. And my motion would be to approve on the condition that the sign be lowered by 1 foot. So it'd be down to, I guess, 13 feet above grade at the bottom. Is there a second for that motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll second that motion.
Okay. John, we'll discuss your motion first to deny. Any comments from board members?
Well, I think it's important to note first that, as proposed, I would vote against granting the relief as it's been requested. Again, because there are aspects of the application and the conditions at the site which lead me to believe that the extent of the variance can be decreased, and perhaps that the existence of the other signage that's on the property is sufficient to accomplish the goal that's sought by the tenant. All that having been said, I agree that the relief, if granted, would help a business in in the township in that retail corridor. It's not strictly our job to be cheerleaders or economic development agent of economic development, but we have to also, I think, recognize that there are a lot of vacant retail locations in the heart of Wayne, and we certainly would want to welcome new businesses to the community and to that area. So we want to try to accommodate, to the extent that we're able to do so, the reasonable requests of business owners. And that's why I would vote against the application as originally stated. And it's also why I would have seconded the chairman's motion that would grant relief conditioned on the lowering of the sign so that the variance that is requested is reduced. It's not a full loaf, it's most of the loaf, and it's better than no. So that's why I'm supporting the chairman's motion.
Any other discussion? Okay, we're going to vote on the first motion, and that's to deny the application as filed. John Nagel? John? I'll agree also, it should be denied as presented.
I'm in favor of the motion.
And I'm also in favor of the motion.
Okay, it's 5-0, Norm, that the application has been denied as presented. Now, the second motion that we're discussing is approval based on a condition that the sign be lowered by at least 1 foot. Is there any discussion on that motion?
No, I don't guess. My feeling is that this is a bit of field engineering that we're doing here. I'm not against the principle of the idea that some adjustments can make this into a more, the minimum variance that's needed, which it isn't at right now. But just plugging 1 foot in, I don't know, would that, right now, if I'm reading this correctly, this is the photograph of the front of the building. Is 1 foot, could they bring it down 2 feet? I mean, why 1 foot? We don't really have a design drawing here that shows it, except there's this red line that looks like to the bottom of the sign. Am I correct? Is that 14 feet or 18 feet? I think it's 18 feet, isn't it, to the bottom of the sign?
No, it's 14 feet to the bottom of
To
the
the
sign.
bottom of the sign is 14.
Correct. Mhm.
And how much distance is there?
The sign's 5 foot in diameter.
So you can come down 2 feet.
You could come down 2 feet. If our field engineering is accurate.
That would be a different motion.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah,
I mean, we have historically had these sorts of discussions at the time of other applications and hearings, and where the applicant is agreeable to a modification on the fly, as it were, as you've described it, John. You know, we have done that previously. We're sort of left to our own design tastes at that point, but it's not unprecedented that we would do that.
But then the sign would be lowered to, the bottom of the sign would be at 13 feet.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the way I read.
I really don't think that appearance should be a factor for us. I mean, that's what DRB was created to do. I mean, really, why couldn't it be down on that section with the horizontal banding and probably be fully compliant? So there are other solutions without granting a variance. And again, appearance, to me, is not a valid reason to change our zoning or take exception to our zoning.
I'm in 100% agreement. I mean, I know we've had other cases where applicants have requested a higher distance for the wall sign, but there was a lot of testimony that there was a hardship. You know, the hardship was the building is incredibly far back. There's a hill that's blocking the viewpoint. You know, so it's like if it was compliant, the wall sign would be useless because it wouldn't be seen. And I'm like, all right, that's a hardship. I get that. Why have an ordinance where you could have a wall sign when it doesn't serve its purpose? Now, this particular case, the frontage is probably less than 15 feet from the roadway. There's a sign on either side of the building, and there is a freestanding sign. So for me, I just don't see a hardship. And
No,
to me,
there's a sign on just one side of the building.
I know, but
which
the
is
other
at
one's
the
by right.
entrance.
You can do that by right. So, you know, you're proposing two, and that's in the testimony. So for me, you know, again, I can't say that, you know, putting it, 14 plus 5, or 14 plus 4, or 15 plus 4. So you're 4 feet over, that's not de minimis. Even 3 feet is not de minimis. You know, that's 20% over what our statute says. So I can't even find a de minimis variance by any way lowering this thing other than saying just put it 6 inches above, you know. So at this point, I'm not in favor of this.
Could I interject something? I wish I had a picture of when those two trees are in full bloom, because you can't see front of the building.
And you won't be able to see that sign.
I would beg to differ. As you're driving to and from Lancaster
Well,
Avenue.
thankfully, you'll be able to see the freestanding
If
sign
it's-
that's
if it's
there,
up higher,
too.
you see it at an angle.
Again, thankfully, you'll be able to see the freestanding sign that's currently there. So that's the good news, is that won't be, there's nothing blocking that. And there's nothing blocking the other two wall signs. So again, look, I don't find a hardship. That's kind of it. And I would not be able to put this into a de minimis variance, so.
I mean, one could arguably, could make the argument that a lower sign might actually be more visible. In addition, this is not the kind of business where somebody is driving along and spots the sign and said, let's go in there. You know, like a fast food restaurant or something like that. So I just don't see the hardship at all.
Well, I'm not going to come up with another alternative motion to make it 14 inches lower. So I will have a vote on the second motion, which is approval conditioned upon lowering the sign by 1 foot. John Nagel, I'll start with you.
Disagree.
Okay, John Lord?
Disagree.
I agree.
I'm in favor.
Okay, 3-2, the motion is denied, so relief is not granted on this application. You are, to the extent you need relief, if you have an alternative design, you're always welcome to come back to us. Thank you, Brian. Good job.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. All right, next on our agenda is Appeal 3123. The applicant, Jennifer Ann Kaminsky and Kevin Michael Perigin, property located at 207 North Aberdeen Avenue in Zone R4 Residential. The applicant seeks relief from Section 280-30.f of the code regarding maximum impervious services to allow the building of a patio and water management system to prevent further erosion from the rear neighbor's property. Anyone here from the applicant? No, you just wait, you'll have to get sworn in. What can we do for you?
So, as you can see in the application, basically my client is already over their current allowable impervious. They're in the R4 zoning district, and impervious is 40% there. They are at 45.3 currently, and that's basically house and blacktop for their driveway. The house is set far back, long driveway. And they want to install a patio and then do some water management. Because, as you can see in the pictures, and also I included a couple videos with the packet. I don't know if you guys have access to that or not, but you can see in the pictures here how the water comes down the backyard when it rains from the neighbor's property. And then on the next page, you can see kind of the damage there and how that's eroding and taking out those tree roots.
Yeah, Mark, I think what I'll do, I think I will mark these photographs as exhibits.
Yeah.
Is Jennifer or Kevin here?
Yeah, they're both right here.
All right, got it. Thank you. Hi. Let's mark, I guess, the application A1. This first picture with the chairs, A2, all right? I don't think the flip side of that, is that relevant to this project?
It's just evidence of the water damage.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, so,
Can you place those pictures further up on the table for, thank you.
all right, the flip side of that picture will be A3. Okay. The next picture I have is a drawing of the project.
Proposed, yeah.
Call that A4. And then you have the full plan of the property. We'll refer to that as A5. Okay. And Mark, you may have stated this, but what's your role in this project?
The contractor.
You're the contractor?
Landscaper, yep.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. Continue.
Sorry?
Continue, I'm sorry.
Oh, so, I mean, basically, right now, at this stage, we're asking for relief of the impervious impervious coverage requirement to install the patio, so they actually have some usable backyard space. And then, because when I talked to engineering and zoning originally and told them that we were already over, they said, just go for the variance right away, and then when I apply for the permit for the walls, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. So, but get the approval for patio and go from there, so.
Okay, can you go through those numbers again? The impervious currently is
45.3,
45.3, so you're 5.3% over what you're allowed.
currently, yes, with just
Currently.
the house and the blacktop driveway.
Okay.
And then by adding 275, that would add another 5.2%, bringing us to, or no, not 5.2. It brings us to 52%.
All right, so at that point, you would be 12% over,
Yes.
up to 52% impervious. Okay. And is most of that the patio piece of this? That additional impervious?
The additional impervious is about 6%. So they're currently over by 5.3, and then it's the additional impervious. The additional 275 is like 5.7, so almost exactly total 12% over.
Yeah. But if you look at A4, that's the drawing of the
Yes.
finished product. It looks like, about 2/3 of that area is that grass?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that'll all be softscape. Pervious surface, grass, plants, whatever.
Okay, so it's really the patio piece of this thing that's
Yes.
causing you to go over. Okay.
Well, they're currently already over, and then
Yeah,
the patio
understood, understood.
continues.
Is there any ability to make that patio size smaller? Go again.
To try to accomplish what they would like to do, and also, part of the problem is as well, and they just pointed this out to me, is that right up against the back of the house, there's also a little retaining wall there that's crumbling already.
Yeah.
And to push that back and try to protect the foundations of the house as much as possible, I'd like to get a decent-sized wall in there, assuming we get all that approved and all that good stuff. And then, they also would like to have some usable space back there. Because as of right now, their backyard is basically a sloped mud pit. So,
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead, John.
Sure.
You talk about stormwater or water management. Do you mean stormwater in the context that the township uses the term? In that you either provide retention or underground?
yeah, we'd do either dry wells or storm tech chambers or an infiltration trench, whatever we need to do. I mean, that's probably going to be another discussion with engineering when we get to that part.
You may have to go to the commissioners for that.
Yeah, so.
Did you ever
because the
consider
amount-
cutting a foot or two out of the middle of the driveway and all the way up?
It's,
I mean, it's-
I did consider it, but it's probably not going to drop the square footage by enough. We'd need to cut out almost another 300 square feet to get under 40%.
Well, you wouldn't have to get under all the way. You have an existing nonconformity, so.
Yeah, I don't think part of the problem is all the water from the neighbor's property rushes, I don't know if there is the ability to show the video of the stormwater coming down,
Well,
but all the water comes off the neighbor's property.
Right.
You can kind of see the erosion in the tree roots here. And it rips down their driveway, and it's thousands and thousands and thousands of gallons probably. I mean, because it's all, God knows where it's all coming from, but they showed me videos, and the only way that I think you can manage it is to redirect it. I don't even think retention or infiltration subgrade is going to work.
no, that would be a way to address your issues. Forget that water.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, absolutely, yeah. The stormwater management in that context is absolutely something that we can do as part of this project. Yeah, that's not a problem.
Thank you.
I'm having a little difficulty orienting myself here. The tree that's shown in various photos in A3, where is that? If you had to place it on A4, where would that tree be?
It would be back behind the short section of fence in the backyard, like the far backyard. So where that second wall is, kind of behind there. We build that up to hopefully keep that tree from falling over, which it
Okay.
also is tangled up in the power lines back there.
Is that on the neighbor's property, that tree?
Yep.
So so it's not your tree, it's someone else's tree?
Yep. No, not their tree. Not the homeowner's tree now.
Right.
Yeah.
So to make sure that I kind of ground myself in the R4 regulations, under 28030, lot area, shall have a lot area not less than 7,000 square feet. You're at basically half of that. That's not fun. And such lot shall be not less than 55 feet in width. What is the width of the property? 25 feet? Looks like it's 25 feet.
and a half.
So you have a really tough property here, like it's almost impossible to do anything without,
Pretty much,
yeah, and it's a shared driveway as well? So,
yes.
good. So if you wanted to do something, you would have to get the approval of your neighbor and probably convince them to say, hey, can I just use your driveway and then drive up on my side? Wow. And so because I think I read that you said you want to do the stormwater control. So you want to try to control what's coming in the backyard. When we think of, just so you know, when we think of stormwater, we think of, there's a mandate in the township, if you add over 500 square feet of impervious, you have to add this to your house, and it's usually, drain spouts and stuff like that, as
Yeah.
opposed to it coming from a different property and moving it. So you're just trying to say, how do I get that water and basically direct it to where I need, you can't correct it at all.
In a perfect world, the reason that I designed this as I did, as well as they would like to have usable space in their backyard. But one of the reasons I designed this as I did was, so the wall in the back, the rear wall on the property, the back of the property, basically put as big a perforated pipe as I can behind that wall and drive it under the lawn, out onto the driveway, and then basically just have the water skip underneath the lawn and keep it going where it's been going for all these years down their driveway. Because, like I said, there's no way we could build they don't have the room in their backyard to put a retention basin in or dry well in big enough to hold that water.
It's too much gallons, yeah.
So just catch it behind the wall so it stops, getting near their house, and just move it along the way that it's been going all these years. But the first step in that is getting the variance for the patio. So,
But you could do all that, fix that problem, but now they have a space that is on dirt.
basically, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I get that. All right, thank you.
Any other questions from board members?
The patio, that's, I assume this is the patio here?
Yes, sir.
What is the material that will be made out
It would be a wet set masonry patio, so a concrete pad with stone, or one of the options we were looking at was outdoor porcelain tile.
Can that be, would it be of assistance to make that a pervious surface?
I think with the water runoff potential, it could be a problem, because if that wall in the back gets overwhelmed, because one of my plans was to pitch that patio hard to basically make sure no water gets anywhere near the house.
And the wall you're referring to is not the back wall here, it's this wall right here?
Well, both
Hot
walls.
tub or whatever that is?
Yeah, because we have about a 6-foot grade difference from the back of their house to basically where that tree is. So it'd be 2 3-foot high walls to flatten out the backyard and then give space for that patio.
And this house fronts on North Aberdeen
Yes, sir.
Avenue.
Right across from where they're building that new apartment building there, or whatever that is.
Townhomes?
Townhouses, yeah.
Oh, by the old pool store?
Sorry.
Okay. And it backs up to St. David's, 416 St. David's Avenue? I'm trying to orient myself, that's why because I know where St. David's Avenue is, but I can't quite picture how this runs in the, backs up to St. David's.
Do you want me to?
Please.
Yes. Kevin Ferragine, K-E-V-I-N-P-E-R-A-G-I-N-E. Yes, so we're on North Aberdeen here, say. There's another property behind us here.
Hey, Kevin, excuse me, can you get a little closer to the mic? Just because we're on television.
No problem. We're on North Aberdeen. If this is our property here, there's a 5-foot or so drop where that big tree is, that you see the roots. Then there's another property behind us, slanted towards our property. Their front of their house is on St. David's. Yeah. So their whole property basically slants towards our property. Then there's that big pitch where that tree is.
And that's
then our
that's a
property.
brick split level, is that right? The
Sorry?
house that you're referring to
That we live in?
that pushes water down onto your property,
Mm-hmm.
is that correct?
What?
It's a brick split level?
No, it's another twin behind us.
Okay.
Yeah. It has it's white with blue shutters, I want to say, both of them.
All right, Kevin or Mark, anything else you'd like to add?
No, do you guys have any further questions?
No, just request that you
Move to have your exhibits.
move to have your exhibits put in the record.
That's fine, yep.
Good enough. Any public comment at this point? Seeing none, can I hear a motion from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that the applicant be granted the relief requested in the application what's that? As, in accordance with the drawings and the testimony we've heard this evening.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Any board discussion? All in favor of the motion? John Nagel?
I support the motion.
John Lord?
Aye.
I support.
Approved.
John.
Approved?
Okay, 5-0. Norma, it's been approved. Thank you. Good luck with your project. Okay, meeting's now adjourned.